everyone. Welcome back to Threads from the Wheel. I'm Monica. This is my sister Heather, and we are here to talk about the last week's episode of The Wheel of Time, The Flame of Tar Valon. So, what did you think?
More palace intrigue, more fun. There was some shock and awe. Things I did not expect.
Me too. Me too.
Things I wanted to see.
So there were a lot of really good lines from this episode. What was your favorite?
When Moraine looks at Leandrin and lets her know she knows what she's up to with the man in North Harbor and how her red sisters might react to that. It was tantamount to punching her in the face, but with words. If I can't have actual physical violence, I will take mean words any day.
Yep. So mine was when Moraine is venting at Swan, and she's like, "Well, aren't you going to say anything?" And Swan says, "I will, once you retract your spikes, you little puffer fish."
That was a great line.
I think the reason I love it so much is because it made Moraine laugh. And we don't see that in the books. We hardly ever see her smile, much less laugh. So
you don't, in the show, you don't see a lot of joy from her. It's duty, and dealing with backstabbing witches and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and it's very much that in the books. So yeah,
I enjoyed that scene too. Leandrin getting put in her place, that made my day.
Yeah. So we start off the episode with baby Swan Sanche down in Tyr with her dad.
She was the actress who played her was just precious, and she just shone on the screen, and her dad was so awesome, and I loved that until the end of the scene.
Yeah,
and then I was near tears. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We don't actually meet any of her family in the books. The impression I got was that the second it was found out she could channel, she was shoved onto a boat and sent to Tar Valon. It really did not paint as loving of a relationship as they had here, and I like this version better. So did you notice in the burnout shell of the house or hut, the dragon's fang?
Yep.
And
did you notice the dogs barking when she was doing her channeling on the boat?
No.
Yes.
But that does fit with the books. Dogs seem to think women who can channel are cats. And cats like them more than regular people.
Well, in traditional lore, witches have familiars, and they're usually cats.
So yeah, that does fit. I like hearing her dad call her clever as a pike. Because when we do get her backstory in the books, once she is raised Aes Sedai, the head of the Blue Aja pretty much snaps her up and presents her with a problem just written out on a page, and she's like, "Oh well, that," and she's like, "Yep, you're my new apprentice." What? Turns out that lady was the head of the eyes and ears for the Blue Aja.
And that explains why she was Blue Aja then.
Well, no, she an accepted is guided to the Aja that best suits them over the course of the years that it takes them to go from accepted to being raised full Aes Sedai. So that was determined long since. It was just a matter of, okay, so now that you're here, what is your job going to be?
Mm.
And most Aes Sedai can just go their own way. But she was so clever that it was decided that, no, this is going to be your job. You are not allowed to go your own way.
Makes sense. Got the brain, use it.
Yeah, yeah. So then we're in the hall of the tower. And we hear Lelaine for the first time. She comes. Chills down my spine, because that is straight up from the books. The way to announce that the Amaryllis seat is arriving.
She was the lady with the
The
staff.
lady with the staff, yes. Lelaine or Liana? Jordan and his everlasting names.
I thought I had trouble with it.
There's Keeper of the Chronicles, but then there's later on, much later on, there's a yellow sister, and one of them is Lelaine and the other is Liana. And I forever cannot keep the two straight. Liana, I think, is the Keeper of the Chronicles.
Well, that scene was gorgeous.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
The costuming,
Mm-hmm.
the set, absolutely phenomenal.
I loved Moraine's dress. It really, for the first time in the show, physically presented the way she's described in the books as steel covered in silk. And I know her personality hasn't changed during the episodes, but it was definitely, yes, that is the visual of how I pictured silk over steel. So yeah, it was a great scene. Did you catch that from Swan's point of view, you had Leandrin, Moraine, Alana, red, blue, green, RBG. And I'm like, oh God, I can't unsee it now.
And given that they were in trouble, it might be the notorious RBG.
I was thinking about colors on a computer screen, but yeah, there's that too.
Just living proof that two dorks can go in two totally different directions but understand each other.
Mm-hmm. So what Logain said about the Aes Sedai becoming weak. In the books, only Aes Sedai are long-lived enough to catch up, because an Aes Sedai, barring an arrow in the back, is going to live about 300 years. They know more than anyone else. They are fewer in number than they once were. And the ones that are strong enough to be raised Aes Sedai are not nearly as strong as their counterparts were a few centuries ago or a millennia ago. No one outside of the tower knows that in the books, or at least is not shown to know that.
He was desperate.
Oh yeah, he was trying to commit suicide by Amaryllis seat.
Yes, he was desperate for them to just end it for him.
Yeah, yeah.
You almost felt sorry for him.
Yeah, I did, because in the books at one point, someone was asking him about what, why did you think you were the dragon reborn? He said, well, I could channel. Who's to say it wasn't me? So it wasn't a matter of he was out for, I
Fame,
don't know,
fortune, and
just to
glory.
be obnoxious or well, in some, just to some extent, it was for glory because if you are the dragon reborn, you're going to have glory. It's just inescapable. That doesn't mean just because you can channel, you are the dragon reborn. So it's flawed logic, but it is an understandable logic. So, um, and him trying to goad her with Karina's death, as if they were going to let anyone that had not been there know that he had killed her. But like I said, he was desperate.
Leandra bought into it and was desperate to use anything she could to try and assuage herself in front of the Emerald Sea.
When he said it, I think the entire hall of the tower was about ready to.
Oh yeah, any of them would have wanted to do that, but Leandra seized on that to justify her behavior.
Which I think she would have anyway, even if he hadn't have brought it up. Because in the moment of in that scene, that was when she said, no, we have to do this. Excuse me. We can't let him kill us. And we have to avenge our sister. So, yeah.
Not wholly wrong on that, but
Yeah. Something I thought was interesting was that Swan said, you took the shawl many years ago, Leandrin. So when an Aes Sedai, or when an accepted is raised Aes Sedai, one of the markings of being a full sister is the shawl. It has a teardrop, a white teardrop on the back, and it is worn on formal occasions. We haven't seen one yet. So I thought it was interesting that it was mentioned at all. So maybe we will see them later on. On the other hand, there kind of really isn't a more formal occasion than a meeting of the Hall of the Tower, especially if you're the one being called before the hall.
yeah.
That is the ultimate call to the principal's office. So I don't know. I mean, if they weren't going to wear it in that scene, when would they wear it? What are they going to classify as more formal than this? But we'll see, hopefully. And as is mentioned later on, Alana defending Leandra. Well, Alana and Moraine both, a green or a blue, much less both, taking sides with a red. Yeah, that happens when Shale Ghul freezes over. Yeah. No. And in the books, as I said, that the Aes Sedai really are much more independent than is being shown here. But it does make for easier storytelling, them being all up in each other's business, as opposed to them being aloof and not talking to each other and not interacting with each other even, because they're just so all into whatever it is that particular Aes Sedai is up to. So then we're off to the Light's Blessing, the inn, and we get a brief glimpse of the innkeeper. And if it's the same fellow from the books, then this is Basil Gill. And yeah, he looks right. He's described as being almost as wide as he is tall. And Moraine moves towards Matt, and Rand actually pulls his sword out.
And Lan makes quick work of that child's mistake.
And I'm like, Rand, you absolute woolhead. Come on.
Put him down like a 5-year-old.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then Nynaeve and Loyal come in, and we get that great line. If wisdom is the title you claim, I suggest you start using some.
Oh, yes. That was brutal.
Mm-hmm. And fantastic. And so much their relationship.
When Moraine is sitting having tea, you see over your shoulder,
right?
Loyal and Egwene going by.
Right. So she notices, out of the corner of her eye. But the thing I found interesting was that when Lan comes to her and she says, "How bad is he?" and he says, "Worse than expected," or something like that. How did he get in the room? Or maybe he spoke with Basil Gill? Or how did he know?
There's got to be cut scenes from some of this, because especially this episode, there's some weird editing choices, weird lines that don't time back. That's one of them.
That's really the only one I picked up on. So then we're in the steam bath with Moraine, and I didn't write her name down. The sitter for the Blue Aja. She's not in the books, not that I remember anyway. Most of the sitters aren't mentioned at this point. So, but yeah.
I like how she tried to ground Moraine.
God, it's time you settle down.
With her pretty little Irish lilt, she's like, "You've been on the road for 2 years. It's time."
She's been in and out of the tower for 20 years, but when you live to 300, Moraine's only 40 something. Settle down? Come on.
I think she just wanted to try and get her in hand, because she
because
just paid money for the ferry she sunk. She's not sure what Moraine's been up to, and she's desperate to know because she's a higher up blue, and it doesn't look good on her that her sister's going rogue and doing crazy stuff. So yeah,
I think it's also that Moraine is also very adept at what we theoretically will come to know as the game of houses, politics, basically the subtle subterfuge, the saying one thing but hinting at something else, and it just gets all crazy. But she's Carianan, Moraine is. House Dalmodred.
yeah.
Her uncle was king of Carian back when she was an accepted.
Well, the Amerlin seat had already down dressed her and told her she thought she was better than everybody else. Lady
But
Moraine demoed it.
It said that the Karianan might have invented the game of houses, but Aes Sedai perfected it. Well, Moraine grew up in the palace in Carian and then went to the White Tower. So if anyone is more indoctrinated into the game of houses, I don't know them. So it could be that the sitter wanted that intelligence because of the network of eyes and ears, and someone to sift through the information.
Well, it might have helped her make better sense of why ships were going missing off the coast and
Mm-hmm.
other weird things happening, and Trollocs bashing through the two rivers with no one knowing they're coming.
Yeah, and at this point in the books, she honestly does not know why. We do find out later. So we're in the steam bath, and then there is a sprig of an herb hidden in her towel.
Little yellow flowers.
Yeah.
Somebody from the Yellow Aja wants to talk to you.
Mm-hmm. And then she goes off to Perrin and Egwene. And Egwene thinks she actually killed Balda.
Bless her little heart.
So cute.
I hope she did, but I know she didn't.
Yeah.
It would make life for them a lot easier if she did.
It
But
would,
she didn't.
but in the books, at least, he plays a bigger part later on. So, and given the placement, yeah, I really don't think he's dead.
No. And he's really going to be after her because she stole his trophies.
Yeah.
She tried to burn him and failed. She stole his trophy. Well, she stabbed him, and then she stole his trophies. He's really going to have it in for her.
Yeah. In the books, I don't think they ever met. So that's going to be an interesting twist to the story. As we go through this, there's so many changes to the story that I know at this point it's a different story. It's in the world that I love with characters I love, but it is a different story. And it's to the point now where I'm not sure I know what's about to happen. And I like it. I'm here for it. I get to go on this ride for the first time again. And that's not something I thought I would ever get.
Sometimes that adaptation is good, and I'll take your word for it that this is good because I don't know the books, but I'm enjoying the show. And other times, other shows, one that shall not be named again, just fall short.
That
for whatever dumb and dumber reason.
So for one, this series has already been completely written and published and all that for 7 or 8 years now. So that we're not going to run into that issue of running out of runway, so to speak. But also, for as much as they are changing plot points, the core of these characters, they are absolutely nailing. And I'm loving that, especially Nani. I am falling in love with Nani all over again.
She is awesome. Even when she gets put in her place. Twice.
Yeah.
Right.
So then we are in Moraine's sleeping chamber. And Lan is pissed. She masked the bond. He doesn't know where she is, what's happening to her.
Tower's not safe.
Yes, yes.
And then he realizes after he talks to her, oh,
Yeah, it's been at least 2 years. I thought you could use a break.
because I sure could.
He's like, I don't care. There are people here who want to kill you.
And then he realizes, oh, yeah, tell her we love her. Bye.
Yeah, give her my love. Be back by dawn. Is that a command? Did it sound like a suggestion? It is so them. And
It's awesome.
how much he worries about her and wants to keep her safe.
Well, that's his duty as well.
It,
He loves her, but it is also duty. So
and
it's a double-edged sword.
Lan Almandragoran is absolutely nothing without duty. In fact, he was the one that taught the Emmons Fielders the Borderlands saying, death is lighter than a feather, duty heavier than a mountain. So, yeah. Duty is pretty much all there is to Lan at this point.
Part of me was watching that scene and like, she goes over to the fireplace in the picture and, where are you going in your nightgown, lady? I was totally blindsided by what was coming.
I was as well. And the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, so has she suddenly rediscovered traveling? Is this Tela Unriod or what the ever living? But later on, and I have it in my notes where the timestamp is when we go to Suan's quarters. She has the exact same picture frame, different picture in it.
Hers is the mountains of Tyr, I guess, her homeland. The painting looked like the landscape as she's going down the river before she goes to the
more than one,
the White Tower, but they're the mountain peaks.
I don't think the picture is what matters. Those frames are identical. I think they are Tirangrial. Those are objects that are designed to use the one power. Some of them require the one power to be used. Some of them can be used by anybody, but they are for a specific purpose. And I think the purpose of these two is to take the user into Tela Unreal, the unseen world or the world of dreams, in the flesh. I wonder if they even know where they are or what this place is, because it is very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
Well, they showed Moraine weaving, channeling.
Yes.
Then the gateway opened.
But yeah, I think that's what it is, that it's a Tirangreal taking you in the flesh into Tela Unreal.
Okay. Well, take your word.
It's the world of dreams, and pretty much anything you can imagine, so long as you can hold it in your mind and keep your focus on it, is real. No matter what you imagine. And some people dream themselves there by accident. They only last there a few seconds, but whatever happens to you in the world of dreams is real when you wake up. if you are killed or if you die in the world of dreams,
You
you
don't
do
wake up.
not wake up. Yeah. Um, and on the subject of dreams, Swan starts talking about her dreams as if they're prophecy, as if she was a dreamer. There hasn't been a dreamer in the tower in almost 500 years. So that's something else that's new in this version.
That just struck me as convenient.
Say again?
It struck me as convenient,
Yeah.
and it's got to be a trap. It's just gotta
Well,
be a trap. It can't. It can't be like she thinks it is. If Emerald Guy is
yeah.
able to get into Rand and Nat, and everybody else's dreams,
You think
what about
Ishamael
Swan?
is doing this?
Yeah, I
Well,
think he might have been sending her a little. Come get me.
could be. In the books, we get a similar story about there being a danger to the eye of the world from 3 different locations, and none of them are based in dreams. I think this was a concise way of presenting that. But I don't think you're wrong. It could, even if Shamal isn't the one behind it, it could definitely be something of a, yeah, come at me. Because especially right after they had a Tirangriel into Telangriad, they want to say, oh yeah, the eye of the world is where the Dark One's prison is. No, the Dark One's prison is at Sheol. Why? I mean, you do this thing that would confuse the ever living heck out of anyone who hasn't read the books. And even the first time I saw it, I didn't quite get what they were getting at. And yet then you want to dumb it down and say Sheol is somewhere else. It didn't make sense as to why they would make that change when they just did something that was really confusing. So
I don't know. I don't. So
but we just skipped right over the whole Swan and Moraine.
yeah, I was not
So
expecting any of that
they
at all.
they'd had a relationship with back when they were students in the books. But it's not presented as something that lasted past them becoming full Aes Sedai. So, hey, they stayed together this time. And they also,
I'm not against it. I just was not expecting it.
I wasn't expecting that particular relationship. I knew that they were going to put more sex into the show than was ever in the books. Because Jordan, God love him, was exceptionally prudish. Eye of the World was written in the 80s by middle-aged white man. Middle-aged Southern white man. He's from South Carolina.
Really?
Charleston, I believe.
I'm from the upstate. We don't count
Oh.
Charleston. Charleston doesn't count the upstate.
Okay.
In Charleston, the world still revolves around Charleston. It was once the capital of the state. They act like it still is. It's all good.
Okay.
I mean, any place with a nickname, the Holy City. takes itself a bit too seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for our country, which is very young compared to some of the rest of the world,
Mm-hmm.
Charleston's got a lot of history. It's
Mm-hmm.
been through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Revolutionary War, Civil War. It was one of the first cities after the colonies were assigned. But it's not the end all.
No. But Jim Rigney, that's Robert Jordan's real name. Jordan's a pen name. Was very conservative, very prudish. And I don't know if that's how he actually was in life or just the way he chose to write.
Well, you said the books were written in the 80s. That book was written in the 80s?
Yeah, the first one, it was released New Year's Day, 1990.
Yeah, even into the late 90s. You get an openly homosexual character into a book.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Well,
Didn't happen.
Like I said with Egwene and Rand, in the books, they hadn't even actually started dating. There is very little, even heterosexual sex in the books. And certainly on screen, I mean, there's 1.5 scenes in 14 books.
Well, I mean, at least they're not just throwing in naked chicks just for the
Yeah.
titillation factor, pardon the pun.
Yeah, that they are doing it much more respectfully than Game of Thrones did.
Yes, exactly.
You
knew exactly where I was going with that.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. I knew they were going to add more nudity and whatnot, just because how could they not? He had so little of it. Yeah, I like the way they're presenting it. Also in that scene, Moraine mentions every town has a different legend about the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, what about the Karathon cycle? The prophecies of the dragon? And Suan mentions our prophecies. But it's not ours, it's just the prophecies of the dragon. I don't know where they're going with that, as if Aes Sedai were the only one to write these things down. I mean, there are Aes Sedai who have the foretelling, which is a prophetic ability. There are also people, well, there's actually only one in the series that we know of, but presumably other people throughout time who can't channel, but also have prophetic visions. So we don't have a legitimate reason, based it in the books to believe that the Karathon cycle was only written by Aes Sedai. So
maybe they're just trying to simplify that.
Could be.
Keep all the special witchy prophecy weaving stuff to the Aes Sedai. Or to dudes you got a gypped.
It could be a diversion. I did like the whole multiple-headed dragon story. The first time I watched the episode, I was like, Hydra! But the other day,
I'm sure that got some noggins jogging. People who haven't made up their mind and don't know who the dragon is.
I had to go into work yesterday, so I started listening back to Welcome to Night Vale. So then I got home and I did my rewatch, and I'm like, Hiram McDaniel! And he's a 5-headed dragon. Eve,
That's what I'm saying. that was something that threw me because in the previews, the trailers, you hear them talking about the 5 of you. And then the first episode, it's the 4 of you. And you're like,
Well,
you didn't
that's
know that Nynaeve was going to survive that Trolloc attack.
yeah, and Nynaeve is too old, according to Guitara's prophecy, but she's so powerful. So maybe not. And I like the idea of it being more than one of them. Um, maybe they go that way, maybe they don't. And you have no idea, because I didn't understand when we first started this thing how difficult it has been to keep my mouth shut about who this person is when I have known since 1994. I've known for 28 years who the Dragon Reborn is.
You gave me a huge hint last time. So.
Yeah. I almost bit my tongue off. That's actually why I want them to go in a different direction. I know it's going to change a whole lot of the story, but maybe not so much, because of other things, the way other things were phrased about who else is needed. Because like Maureen said in that first episode, there is more than one ta'veren. The dragon is not the only ta'veren. So they could use that as expanding that to, okay, all of the ta'veren are pieces of the dragon. I think that would be a cool reinterpretation.
Or maybe the dragon means the others to harness their power.
They are all supernatural in some way.
And they're all deeply connected and have been since they popped out of their mommies.
Pretty much, yeah. But also they haven't mentioned it yet, but the dragon is adopted. And we know Nynaeve is adopted.
I'm convinced she's not the dragon.
So then we're back in the tower, and we have Liandrin pop out of.
Does she live in that freaking hall? She's always there. I think she lives in that hall.
I think she's like the faceless old woman who secretly lives in your home. She's just there.
Okay, Night Vale again.
Yes. Sorry, I've been listening to that all day. So she is just infuriatingly well informed.
Get your business done because your time is limited, basically.
And then,
as if nothing's going to happen to her, as if the Amberlin seat isn't going to spank her little red bottom.
Next episode, I want to see Liandrin
on her knees.
Aes Sedai scrubbing pots.
No, I want to see her on her knees, and then that forehead just bang into the floor. Yes, mother, whatever you say. That would be cool.
And then we get the wonderful line you mentioned. I know about the man you meet in North Harbor, which is mwah.
Verbal face punch. Verbal face punch. You're well informed, but so am I. Which I
Mhm.
like it.
I,
I like it a lot.
I don't think the two of them are making the same assumptions about the man. And I will leave it at that.
I have my suspicions about Leandra.
Do tell.
She strikes me as somebody who would find this guy intriguing.
Now, just because someone is a nasty person doesn't mean they're a Death Eater.
No, but there's just something about her. She's got like shark eyes. They look dead, but they see everything.
Wait till you meet Elida, who is not Black Aja, but good God Almighty. She might not serve the Dark One, but she is pure evil.
Leandra just seems stupid enough to get suckered into that crap.
Well, the thing is, all it takes is one moment of despair, one moment of the light just does. I might as well be on the winning side because there is no hope. And once you make that admission, once you let the Dark One in, so to speak, that's it. There is no escape. And so there will be people we meet on this journey, at least in the books, um, that you don't see coming. You don't see it. That there's one in particular that even as the evidence was mounting up and mounting up, I'm like, no, 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 nope, I refuse. Nope, she's being forced into this. She's nope, nope. I know, I was making excuse after excuse after excuse. And no, she really was a dark friend.
I didn't see Dana coming.
Mm.
She mentions that she
Yeah.
has already contacted the Fade, and then Tom puts a knife through her throat.
I forgot about it. Yeah. So then we are in the empty hull of the tower. It's gorgeous.
So the Amerlin seat
Mhm.
is named after the seat.
I don't know which name came first. But yeah.
It's just the way poor Gawain is just confused because the person and the chair are the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we get to hear Moraine say her second best line of the episode for me.
That was, yes, that was a good one. Excuse me. So then we're in Swan's chambers, and I wrote it down here. It's at 42 minutes and 40 seconds where you see the other picture frame.
Yep.
And Egwene and Nynaeve walk in, and Moraine does her little bow, and Egwene's like, okay, yeah, so then I bow, and Nynaeve is like,
I bow to no one, bitch.
Yep.
I liked it.
Yeah. I loved when Swan said, I've been told you're the most powerful channeler we've seen in 1,000 years.
And Egwene's all.
Nynaeve, Elmira. Whoa.
And Egwene's like, What do you mean? You could see the jealousy for a second.
Yeah, the shock and the jealousy and it's not me. And Nynaeve's comment, then you must have very low standards. Like I said, I'm falling in love with Nynaeve all over again. The when Nynaeve and Egwene almost turned to leave, and Siuan hits him with that stare. I can't believe that is the Amerlin's stare. The one described in the books is much more nail you to the wall stare. I think that they got a light dose of it. I hope we see something more intense.
That one was intense. Maybe not nail you to the wall, but that was slap your wig off. Intense.
It was no, you're gonna stand right there. But no, it's if what I picture in the books is a 10, that was a 4. I mean,
having been a teacher even for a short period of time, it was intense, but it wasn't a 10.
So then we get Lan and Moraine out on the balcony, and Lan offering to go into the hall with Moraine, as if a man would be allowed into the hall of the tower, even if he is a warder.
That just shows how devoted he is to her.
For sure.
And anything to protect her.
Very much. Yeah.
Not that he really thought that they would hurt her physically, but
no, but it was he knew she would want moral support.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Moraine's sentencing, they pulled out the oath rod. The oath rod is only used for the 3 oaths when you are raised Aes Sedai. So this is completely new territory for me, as far as it being used to make someone accept their sentence.
Well, you said the Aes Sedai can't lie. So I didn't understand the need to make her swear another oath.
Exactly.
I think just from a showrunner standpoint, that was a chance to show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we had seen it in
and it's
in the preview.
It's how I described or how I
original trailer. And it's beautiful. And whoever made that prop is talented. But I think they just needed an opportunity to show it.
Yeah. So in the books, we get that cute little finger touch under the rod between the two of them, and it's sweet. In the books, the oaths are memorized beforehand because, like I said, it's only used when you're raised full sisterhood. So I don't know what the effect would be of Siuan saying these words, especially since she said, "I, Moraine Damodred." And is she exempt because she's the one channeling? I know the showrunners aren't going to have her exile herself. I know that. But just from a nerdy geeking out perspective.
Well, the oath left her a huge out until I'm called home by the Amerlin seat, by Swan Sanche.
But then Moraine had to go And instead of saying the Amarlin seed, she said Suan Sanche.
And she repeated the father's line who
Yes.
sent her to the tower.
Yeah, I thought that was sweet.
It was sweet, but it was a little overt. If they've worked that hard to keep the relationship quiet,
Yes.
was that
Especially as
only able to be heard by them? Or would the whole room of observers have seen that and been like,
I think maybe she whispered that part. But yeah, for as good at the game of houses as every Aes Sedai is, except maybe the Browns because they're clueless generally.
wait, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're not clueless.
Well, Browns are easily distracted. Yeah,
Maybe I should rethink my Aja choice.
somebody pulls out a manuscript from a millennia ago, and it's like, ooh, 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 yeah, something shiny, basically. But any bit of knowledge, that's their whole thing, is to use their 300-ish years to add one more grain to the sandbox of human knowledge. That is their purpose in life, to present more knowledge. So yeah, they're very much in their heads and in their books and just all of that. So yeah, the rest of and not every Brown is like that, but most of them. But the rest of the Aes Sedai are very in tune with the game of houses, and they would read 16 different things into that. That would be so over if they heard. And that's the big if there.
That's what caught my attention was
Mhm.
she's being very sweet, very
Yes, it's almost like a wedding vow.
Mhm.
My concern, especially since they're deviating so much from the books, she specifically said Swan Sanche, not the Amarlin seed. What if something happens to Swan?
Then she might never be able to return to the tower.
If Swan dies before saying, come home, Moraine is screwed.
This, I don't know about the books, but this one, those will be her last words. On her deathbed, she'd be like, Moraine, come home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If she is allowed last words, if it isn't an arrow in the back, if it isn't just something that just takes her out.
If she's able to, she would.
Yes, very much so. She would. And that's also going to be interesting because in the books, like I said, that their relationship was only back when they were students, and they both ended up finding other people. So are they going to do that? Maybe, maybe not. I would think not, given how devoted they are to each other, 20 years later now. So that's going to be interesting. And
I thought it was striking when all the sisters turned their backs.
I was getting to that. Moraine's tears during that.
Knowing that she was the architect of her exilement, but it's still got to be hard. And especially when she gets out in the hall and Alana, the green sister,
Yeah.
she looks like she's in physical pain.
Yeah.
when she has to turn her back to Moraine.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I don't know if they even knew each other in the books, but there does seem to be a genuine friendship here with them. So yeah. And then Moraine rides out of Tar Valon and out into the countryside. And we get the Waygate and the reunions, and they're so sweet.
I was watching that and seeing everybody come in. All I could think was the line from Blues Brothers. We're getting the band back together.
Yes.
So
Yes.
things really, the next 2 episodes really should be moving right along. We should see some interesting action. Of course,
Yes.
the last scene of this episode was
Yes. Yes. And I'm gonna get into that. The Waygate, they had the height, right? Especially since Moraine is supposed to be a very short woman. Carianan are generally short anyway, and then Moraine is short for Carianan. So I'm thinking she's maybe like 4'6". Which clearly Rosamund Pike is not. But that's the way I pictured her in the books. Very petite. And Ogier is supposed to be like 13 or 14 feet tall. So to me, that visual was the inverse of the way it was described in the books. This was mostly a door frame, whereas what is described in the books is a slab of stonework. And in order to open the Waygate, you take it is carved all in leaves, so intricately it looks like the leaves should be about to blow in the wind. And then you pick, there's one Avendasora leaf. You pick that out of the wall, and then the gate opens, and then you put it back, and then as the gate closes, you scurry your butt back in there. Because the Waygates were built by the male Aes Sedai during the breaking of the world. No one can channel within an Ogier steading. So some of the men went to the steading as a way to hold off the madness. Unfortunately, it is akin to being gentled in that you can still sense the source, you just can't touch it. And without that, life just isn't worth living. So slowly the men went back out into the world because they just couldn't take it anymore. So there is arguing among the Aes Sedai at the time of whether the Ogier saved humanity by not letting it all happen at once, or if it just prolonged it. It's good arguments both ways. But as a gift back to the Ogier, those male Aes Sedai created the Waygates, and back when they were first created, they were not corrupted by the Dark One. They were, you walked under sunshine, and there was grass and trees and fruit trees, and you could eat the fruit and all of that. And you could, like Loyal says, a step in the ways could be 100 miles in our world. And you could travel the ways from one steading to another without going through whatever was going on out in the real world, because the men losing their minds were changing the landscape. I mean, literally, mountains rose up, oceans became mountains, and mountains became oceans, and just everything changed. Um, and it was a way to allow the Ogier to travel among steadings without dealing with all that. And it was their thank you gift. And but the thing is, Ogier can't channel. And Moraine channeled to open that waygate. So that's going to be interesting because it does come up later on about individuals needing to open or close a waygate who can't channel. So I don't know if there's going to be a, a secondary way you can use a waygate.
Or certain gates might be locked, meaning you have to be able to channel. And other ones you don't have to channel.
That could be because if this one is right outside Tar Valon,
Chances of people being able to channel there are pretty high.
yeah, but as a major city, there's also a whole lot of people, period.
Yeah.
And amongst the general population, the chances of any one individual being able to channel are pretty low. Amongst the
Yeah.
general population.
General population.
And if you're Aes Sedai, you know betters. If you're Aes Sedai, you know the dangers of the ways. Because, like I said, when they were first created, it wasn't corrupted by the Dark One. The corruption of the Dark One is what has made it go literally dark. And there is a creature in there called Machin Shin, the Dark Wind. Nobody knows if it grew from the taint or if it grew from the ways themselves, or how or where this thing came about. But it is the only wind. There is nothingness in the ways, no light, no wind, no nothing. And if it catches you, it drives you insane. You are a drooling mass if you come out at all after that. So yeah, that you have to be pretty desperate to go through the ways. And Moraine saying the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. That is almost a mantra in the books. So it being said for the first time in this series, that made me smile. And Matt chose to stay behind. That he doesn't do that in the books. But I think because I have his name here, Barney Harris.
Yeah, I actually, one spoiler got in and I know why this happened. And
yeah, he's not going to be our Matt next season. So I'm guessing we're not going to see Barney for the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, he quit during this episode. He has deleted his social media.
I didn't know the why.
They don't talk about him. The show people, sorry, say hi to Dougal. The show people do not talk about him. Nothing has been being said. I guess they were trying to keep it quiet until after they got to this point in the season. But yeah. I did hear about this, and I hope whatever caused him to break contract, he can overcome.
Yeah, because he was killing it as Matt.
I loved him. Absolutely loved that little
especially
dumbass.
that scene. It was this episode where Moraine goes to heal him. What was it? Like, help him, he tries. So I think the way they're going to do this story-wise is that Moraine was not able to pull all of the filth out of him, because in the books she was not able. She knew she wasn't able to completely sever him from the dagger. Um, and it actually lasts up on into book 3, before Matt and the dagger are in the same place with, there's a circle of like 4 or 5 Aes Sedai, using an Angriel, something to enhance the ability or enhance how much of the power that they can use. Um, so like 4 or 5 of them with an Angriel, that, and it takes them like hours
Well, it
to
felt like
completely remove.
it felt like they had to power her way up to take care of that so fast.
Um, so I think that there's a little bit of Shudder Logoth left in that, and that's drawing him back to the dagger, and he's going to pick it back up.
Well, she said the dagger was feeding off the darkness that's in him. So
And that's not something that was in the books.
well, this is the show.
Yeah.
It's the
it,
difference.
yeah, no, it's just I'm having a hard time remembering what all is show stuff and what's book stuff, and
Trust me, I survived that other show. I watch
making my brain
Outlander.
hurt.
I watch Outlander, and yeah, it ain't the books, but it's nice.
It is. It is. So I think what's going to happen, and this is completely conjecture, because like I said, he went with them in the books. Is he stays behind, he goes back and he gets the dagger somehow or another. And it's going to be a couple of months, maybe, before Moraine gets back to him and finds out what this light blinded idiot has done. And that's when it's going to take the circle to completely sever him from this dagger. And I think they're going to use that sickness as the reason why he now looks different. And I looked up a picture of the new guy. I don't have his name here, but he does look a fair bit like Barney Harris.
Yeah, I saw a picture of him briefly.
Especially if the new guy's going to have the beard as well. Yeah.
I was gonna say he's cleaner face wise, not facial hair, but I mean they can add that.
Yeah.
Or
if you do that, it's going to be real close.
Or Matt went to detox and he started shaving. Who knows?
Because in the books he doesn't have a beard. Yeah. It could be he just looks different because he actually picked up a razor and shaved.
Magical transformation. He shaved. He got rid of that demon dagger thing.
Yes,
And
the demon dagger. Yes.
It got rid of his wrinkles and cleared up his pimples, and he's good to go.
Yeah.
Clean living.
Matt and clean living. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Just from what I've seen, I know better.
So that's this episode. Next one is The Dark Along the Ways. So apparently, that's just gonna be us walking through the ways and avoiding much and shin.
Probably getting the wits scared out of them.
Yeah. I was disappointed that they had to leave the horses behind, but that's probably a budget issue. I'm guessing renting the horses and maybe having to do reshoots because animals aren't as predictable as people and whatnot. So I think that was a budget issue rather than let's just make this random change sort of thing.
It was very sweet to see Moraine and Lan nuzzle up to their horses.
Yeah. Aldib and Mandarb.
Kiss them goodbye.
in the books, Lan has Mandar all the way through the last battle.
It struck me as kind of a waste to send the horses away with their saddles and saddlebags. I'm guessing there was nothing in there that they needed. I
I,
hope.
but there's so many supplies you need when you're going through the ways, and not just
It didn't look
lantern
like
and a whole
it,
bunch of oil and all the water you're going to need for you don't know how many days it's going to take you to get to Faldara. Um,
it didn't look like they were loaded down with rucksacks
no,
and
no, and they should have been. So yeah, I think that's just going to be it's in the script. And then the finale, the name of the finale is The Eye of the World. And this, if they follow the books, should be when they reveal who the dragon is. I hope, because this is killing me.
I'm dying to know if I'm right or not. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm right, but I'm dying.
And I want it to be more than one. I really do. I think that would be
I think it could be that the dragon, especially being newly discovered of their power, might need several other people to help him or her. As long as Egwene learns how to throw a real fireball.
yeah, she'll get there. She'll get there. Oh, yeah, yeah. Mhm. Well, I I don't know if she was really trying to throw a fireball or if that was just a cover. If it was just a cover, she has a lot more skill than at this point than she had in the books to be able to do two flows at once. Intention.
I don't know.
Maybe we'll find out later on. Another thing that's interesting is that here everyone can see the weaves. In the books, you have to be someone else who can channel. And even then, you can only see, women can only see other women's weaves and men other men's. If a man is near a woman who touches the source, he gets goosebumps. A woman does nothing. So
That's cold.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Egwene and Nani were rather upset when they found that out. But
Yeah,
yeah, hopefully, maybe we'll meet Elaine and Faldara. Maybe. But the Eye of the World is in the Blight, and Faldara is along the border. Um, and that's where Mathanalda Darano is the full old school name. When Moraine asks Loyal to take them to Faldara, he's like, "Oh, I don't know where that is." Phew. And she looks at him, she's like, Mathanalda Darano. And he's like, "Hush, no," because like so much of everything he learned about the outside, it's changed. It, Loyal Loyal ran away from home to go see the outside. He was supposed to get permission from the elders because
Oops.
because Loyal is only 90.
I'm taking an Ogier live a long time then. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So he's still a juvenile at 90.
Yes.
Okay.
Which cracks the Emmons Fielders up. But yeah, in the books. I'm on a reread, and he's still worried about his mother coming to find him. Because if she finds him, she's going to have a bride in tow to settle him down, and then he's not going to be able to go outside anymore. Oh, he's like, I'm too young to get married. It's the cutest thing.
I love the character, and I was so glad that he showed up at the end of there. That
Mm-hmm.
we're going to continue to see him in the show. He just over explains everything, and just precious as the day is long.
Well, because the ways were made for the Ogier, the guiding stones, which I'm assuming we're going to see in the next episode, are written in the Ogier language.
Mm.
No
Kind of need
human,
no gear to read those. I
right?
don't think many humans can do that.
None. In the books, anyway, no human can read Ogier well enough to make it through the ways without an Ogier guide. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Can't wait.
Yep. So that being said, click like and subscribe, and we will see y'all next Tuesday.
Bye bye, y'all.
Bye.